welcome plan weekly. Was it June 3rd? Lori, you have the first point.
So I reordered it. So we just turned on GraphQL boards on .com this morning. We want to default it on for everybody in 14.0. So if you find any bugs, please let us know so we can fix it. It's been a very long time coming. I'm very excited to see that. Thank you, Julian, for taking care of a lot in the past few months.
It was a great collaboration.
Yeah, I know. Well, I started working on solid swim lanes, so it was a very long time coming. We can default it on. We can use it. There's still a few things to fiddle with to be able to actually remove all of the legacy code, but I'm hoping to start deleting stuff in 14.1. So fun things. Yeah, I don't know if anyone has questions. If you have any questions, ask away, but it's more like I'm letting you know and please raise bugs, basically.
Yeah, so the question I have is if we want to go through like defaulting it on, or should we just go through and start removing one, legacy code, and two, the feature flag?
No, we can't do that until the feature flag is
removed. Yeah.
We can't start removing.
We can't remove
legacy
the code until the.
We can't remove legacy code until the feature flag is removed completely, yeah. And basically we never ever load any of the legacy boards at all.
Yep.
Okay, so
because it's all or nothing. We can't have like half refactored board and half non-refactored board. It's one or the other.
Yeah, so when we go through, and how many places are there? There's quite a few places in code that looks through this, that uses this feature flag, right?
And there are, like, I recently found out about the fact that we still use some legacy code in board scope. So we'll have to delete things we'll have to iterate actually even removing legacy code, but we can't remove anything. Like what I would do is that we default it on now, and then we delete the feature flag. So we like always load the pretty new version, and then we can start deleting like legacy components and then models, and then probably some jQuery later.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah. So right now there's in a lot of places there's a conditional, right? Like if the feature flag is on, show the GraphQL boards, else show the old stuff.
Yeah.
Like, can we go through and delete the?
We'll delete them when we remove the feature flag entirely.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. Can we go ahead and remove the feature flag now? Like, do we have to default?
We have to default it on.
Wait, so we've just enabled it for GitLab.com, right? But that's not the same as making the feature flag a default feature flag, right? So we just enabled it for GitLab.com. After a week, if nothing else happens, then we just go ahead and turn this into a default flag. And then
I've already created the merge request to default it on, because like there were also some tweaks to be done to the aspect tests. Okay, and then we can like finish cleaning up the aspect test when we actually remove the feature flag. But this is this feature flag there's a lot behind it, like a lot. So I want to be really careful about the steps that we're taking. So I want to default it on, then remove it, then remove legacy code.
Okay. Yeah. So what are the benefits of defaulting it on, though?
Oh, it's mostly so that everyone has access to it, and if there's any bugs, we can fix it.
For self managed
for everyone.
Well, yeah. So
isn't it the process? Isn't it the process for feature flags anyway to do it that way?
We don't really have to default it on. Like sometimes we just skip that step and just remove the feature flag code.
Yeah, it's such a huge change. Like it's a huge refactor. Like for small features, sure. But this is so big, I would feel better if we still had the option to turn it back off on .com if something really bad happens.
I agree.
Okay. Yeah, but I mean, so that's right now is what we're testing for .com, right? Like by turning it on for .com, we have the time right now to flip it back off if we want to, you know.
Please, can we just do it step by step? Just because
If we, it's more just if we break it for a customer who's self-managed.
Yeah, then they can turn it off
for themselves.
They can turn it off for themselves later.
Okay.
I'd rather have that. It gives us an extra milestone. Like if we default it on in 14.0, in 14.1 we can like alleviate things and like still allow people to turn it off if something goes really wrong.
Okay.
And then it's just such a huge refactor.
Okay, so what I don't want to do though is rush to default it on right now so we can get it into everyone for 14.0 and have that risk where, because having everyone turn it off, all self-managed folks turn it off after we've defaulted it on is going to be a hard thing to do.
Okay, so would you rather we default it on in 14.1? We can hold off.
So that's a thing, but then yes, but then we also will not. Are we saying 14.2 then before we start removing code? Like, are we going to wait another milestone then?
That's why I wanted to default it on in 14.0 so that we could start removing code at 14.1. If we default it on in 14.1, then we push it.
Yeah. So say we default it on early in 14.1, and then we can start removing in 14.
It means we can start removing it at the end of 14.1. We can remove the actual feature flag in 14.1.
Yeah. So that's the point then, when there's no real, we can do it just to follow that process. But it's going to be... We
could default it on and remove it within the same milestone. Like if we defaulted on the beginning of 14.1 and remove the feature flag at the end. Like it's fine. Like it means self-managed is like, just doesn't go through that process at all.
Yeah.
They would just get it removed in 14.1, basically. But it just gives us a little bit of leeway to deal with it on our side.
All right, so
I just don't want to delete it without defaulting it on. Like, I don't want to rush this.
Yes. So as long as we're not rushing to get it out in 14.0, just to default it in 14.0.
Well, it's not a rush. We have 2 weeks before 14.0. Yeah, I don't call that rushing.
Yes, that is true, but like so then are we saying we want to default it on like right now? I guess we could right now.
Ready. I could wait. Like Violan was suggesting to wait about a week, which I think is reasonable. We could default
7 or 10 days.
Yeah. So I've created the merge request, but we don't have to merge it right away. We can wait a week and still default it on in 14.0. Like I think it kind of, I know it's not a breaking change per se, but it kind of makes sense to do it in a 0.0 release as well, because we completely changed the way boards work, even though they still look the same.
Yeah.
What's the most reversible thing that we could do?
It's what, sorry?
The most reversible thing we could do, right? So if we have defaulters on, I mean, people can still switch it off.
Yeah.
And so to me, that's the safest option, because it's the two-way door. People can still come out if there's a big problem.
Yeah, so I think it's a matter of, do we do it in 14.0 or 14.1?
Yeah. We could ask Gabe what he thinks about it.
Yeah, so I think the 2 weeks is enough time right now. Like if we get to the end of 14.0 and we haven't found any issues for it being turned on for .com, there's not going to be any showstopper issues in like for
I'm keen to
self-managed.
default it on within the next 2 weeks before 14.0 is released. I'll check with Gabe what he thinks. He's probably going to watch the recording.
Probably Kristen
Gabe, if
as
you're
well.
watching this, comment in the doc and say yes or no.
I think Kristen is now the person for board.
Yeah, it's now Kristen. We changed it over. But I mean, Gabe will have the experience.
Well,
and Kristen will have
they co-own it,
well.
like, and because it's issue boards, it's historically project management, just because it's purely issue boards.
I think they can both give whatever.
Yeah. There's co-owning now. But yeah, like I advocate to turn it on, to default it on in 14.0. But yeah, we can always hold off. Just yeah.
Okay, cool. So right now we'll plan to go ahead with defaulting it on to 14.0 as long as we don't get any bugs towards the end of 14.0. And you said that MR's already set, right? And then we'll just verify that with Gabe and Kristen.
I just created it this morning. If the pipeline passes, then it will be ready. And then we need thumbs up from product as well.
By the way, we still need to merge that documentation update MR.
Yeah, looks really close to be
One that's with me. I'll probably click it on any minute now.
It's all reviewed and it's ready to go. At your pleasure.
Perfect.
Okay, cool. Feature flag fixes. Julian, you want to go through your?
Oh no, I'm just letting you know that so we're like mixing classic board. Like if you go from classic boards into swim lanes, the labels, they just disappear. The labels that were set in the filter bar. And this bug would disappear once we start using GraphQL boards for the entire issue board. So yeah, just letting you know that.
The switch between legacy boards and swim lanes has already been a little bit.
It's very fragile,
Yeah. Like moving to GraphQL boards will consolidate that switch for sure.
Cool. And then we can skip mine. We've talked through that. Just ping.
Well, I have a second item.
Yep. Sorry, I was skipping my 4A4, but now we're on 4B, Flory.
Oh. Okay. Cool. Swim lanes performance. We're currently testing virtual list on .com. I'm not sure it makes any difference. So that's kind of, it's behind a feature flag, so it's easy to remove. In my opinion, it makes no difference. Around the time I introduced it on swim lanes, we actually removed it from roadmap. So I just want to know if anyone has seen any improvements in the way swim lanes get loaded. If not, I'll just delete virtual list. If there is an improvement, I can leave it. However, we've been having conversation mostly with Jan around swim lanes performances and the way we load epics. And we definitely need to make some changes. We're waiting for Alexis to be back from holidays to discuss, because it likely requires a UX change. But yeah, like there's a lot of conversations happening around swim lanes performance. Virtual list was one thing that I wanted to test. But if there's been no improvement and we change the way we load epics, I'll just remove it.
We must have a chart somewhere, like in Grafana or something, where we can objectively see if there's a difference.
Oh yeah, that'd be useful.
I write that down. We can.
I don't know where that is. So
yeah, I'll see if I can find something. I'm trying to get more into it, but it feels like an ideal use case.
If you find a link, just throw it in the document and I'll have a look. Like it's good to see a measurement the goal with virtual list, I think, is it's more like a visual. Like I want to see if like users can like feel the difference, because the problem with swim lanes when there's a lot of epics is that sometimes the page goes blank or like the scroll is laggy and all that. And I was hoping virtual list would make that a bit smoother. I don't think it does. Like from a user perspective, I haven't seen it.
Felt actually it was a snappier, but the problem is really the initial loading rather than.
I know. Yeah, we just need to change. Honestly, I think the best way to do it is just to change the fetching strategy for epics. Jan agrees on that, but we can't make a decision without UX, so we'll wait and make further changes. I'm leaning towards just getting rid of virtual list when we change the way we load epics. So, yeah.
Yeah, I say hold on until we change that and get more users on it. Because I mean, theoretically, it should improve their performance.
Yeah. It's behind a feature flag anyway, so it's easy. It's easy to remove. It's easy to turn off and on and do whatever. I'm kind of keen to just keep making improvements to swim lanes, and then we'll see. I just wanted to raise it because we haven't really talked about it. Like I've introduced virtual list a while ago and I only turned it on recently. Yeah, just want people feedback on it.
Yeah, another thing we need to fix, and it's not so much related to swim lanes specifically, but it's just around epic filtering for GitLab org. Like it's impossible right now to search for an epic, because before we were doing when we were planning around epic boards, like I would have loved to see MVC1, MVC2, MVC3 on the same board, sorted by swim lanes, and we should have been able to filter by the parent epic, but I could never find that parent epic.
Really?
Yeah, just because we load in every single epic on the filter bar, and you can't search by the what do we show on the epic URL? Is it ID or IID?
Oh, one of them.
Yeah. Well, so we show one of them on the URL.
It's the IID. Sorry, I was muted, but it was the IID.
IID. But on filtered search, we use the ID, but we have no way of knowing what the ID is unless we.
I think there's an issue to consolidate that filtering of epics. Hey?
Yeah. Yeah, there is, to do some work on that epic.
Well,
I mean, that's another thing.
There's definitely a few things to be done there to improve it. So.
Yep. Cool. Julian thought the scrolling experience was a lot more smooth.
Yeah.
Well, good. If it is, then we'll leave it and even roll it out and remove the feature flag.
Sorry, what's the feature flag turned on for virtual list?
It's called like swim lanes rendered buffering something.
Is it for GitLab org? You turned it on?
It's turned on for, what did I turn it on for? Probably GitLab org, yeah. Let me check what I've done. Yeah, GitLab org.
Okay, cool. Alrighty. We shall keep an eye on it.
Thank you.
Okay, so I added the link to the planning object discussion we had earlier. The agenda is a good doc. I'll link that also, which are some of the questions that we had that we're still kind of thinking through. You hear those extremely loud crows in the background? No?
Oh yeah, I do now.
Oh yeah, there we go. Yeah.
They're so loud. So yeah, the agenda is a good doc to take a look at. Start thinking through any other additional questions. There's not as many on the front end as there is on the back end, primarily around like if this is a whole new object, how are we going to handle, like, are we going to extend the current issue table, or are we going to have a whole new table with these objects that will eventually migrate over, which led to the question of, like, do we want a button where people can, like for epics, where they can migrate or transform it into a version 2 epic? So there's just similar questions to that. I don't think we really got to too many answers today, which is okay. It's just a kickoff. But those are the types of things that we're going to want to start thinking through before we actually start working on the implementation details.
Is that going to be a repeating kind of catch up? Because it feels like a large effort that probably would necessitate kind of like what we do with epic boards, meeting every once in a while.
I just read this.
Oh, very good.
Now my turn.
Yeah, we probably should. I think that's a good idea. For the most part, I mean, if we can get into like a lot of these things would be, it's hard to get the whole team together to have the meeting. So if we can also figure out how to do this so that everyone on the team is involved and determine like what we can do asynchronously, that'll be good. But yeah, it's always good to have a sync meeting for huge things, refactors like this.
I mean, for epic boards, for example, it's not even a big meeting, like, and it's not anything that you can't find out from looking in the various things. So it's not sort of a lack of transparency or anything. It's more like making sure everyone's on the same page and catching up with a broader view of things, which I don't know about you, Flora. I found it quite valuable.
Yeah, I agree.
Cool. There's also the Slack channel. I think it's F_ planning object. Let's see. Yeah. F_ planning object, which will have some discussions on it there too. Julian, distraction-free mode.
I thought Simon, you advertised it as the next big thing a couple weeks ago, like when you're working on something.
Was I?
Sorry, my mouse is not.
Did you buy something from Denmark?
Yeah,
Maybe
so
it was the other Simon that was working on it.
Yeah, so yeah, because Hole mentioned something about just brushing up on the UX. I always envied GitHub in this regard, like not having that side, on the left, right? We have that side menu with a bunch of stuff. I just don't know why, but it just feels cluttered, like really, when I see that menu, and was wondering if we are going to have this universal like planning object, maybe we could add an option to hide that. A small thing, not.
Wait, so to hide the left sidebar completely, as opposed to just minimizing it and showing just icons like we have?
Maybe minimize it, yeah, somehow. I think, Simon, you were working on something like that, right? I distinctively remember, yeah, no?
No, I was working on a edit description from anywhere, from the top bar, but I didn't do a left sidebar thing recently, I don't think.
Like when you're working on like hiding the left sidebar, like when you're checking out the issue page, like show page?
No.
Okay.
I don't think so. I was working on unsticking performance bar. I gotta sort out my merge requests. But I am also interested in hiding the left sidebar.
Wait, hiding what left sidebar? This left sidebar?
Yeah, that one, yeah.
So hiding it completely, or?
Yeah.
Like maybe minimize it into that little small icon, and then you can expand it on.
So like beyond what this is?
Yeah, that's still too big.
Okay. So I think they're working on, I don't know if it affects anything on the left sidebar, if it's just this navigation.
Yeah, the super nav, adding that to the top. I think that can replace a lot of the left sidebar functionality.
Yeah, and I think that's the idea.
Yeah. No, I was thinking we fully get rid of it and then just chuck a little hamburger icon to the left of the GitLab icon at the top left in the nav bar. Like the usual way of hiding menus off screen.
Yeah.
Security issue with your thoughts. Julian, you're the one that really wants it.
Okay, yeah. I wanted it from the day I joined GitLab.
You know, there's a bunch of new sidebar stuff going on right now.
This and the purple color. Yeah, those are the two things.
Yeah, the gradient sidebar looks awesome. I think we should run with that. It's like a purple orange gradient on the new one.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't see that.
It's behind a feature flag, but if you load up any feature specs, then they have the new one.
Cool. I'm looking for the issue around SuperNav. It's somewhere, but I'll link it in our agenda once I find it.
That's pretty funny because I actually just reviewed something related to that SuperNav this morning. So I'll have access to that. Talking about the top thing where it's like one menu and then you have like project groups and so on, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'll have the issue close by. I didn't even know it was a thing until 2 hours ago.
And is it really called SuperNav?
It's called...
It should be.
I don't know. It just says combine project groups and more into one menu. I'll add it to our agenda for context. Where is it?
You found it fast. Yeah, I can't find it.
Well, yeah, because I'm currently reviewing something related to that. I'll call it SuperNav.
Yeah, I think we should suggest that as a code name.
Not even the
there
code
you go,
name.
if you want to have a look.
Cool.
It's
yeah, instead
called,
of the hamburger, just do
the feature flag is combine_menu, I think.
Ah.
If you want to have it. No, I have it on my local. It's pretty. I like it.
Does that also include the gradient?
I don't know what that gradient thing is. I don't know.
Like you haven't seen it? I'm not sure what it is.
What? I don't know what this gradient. I can't see a gradient on this menu.
It's not in that menu. No, it's in the left sidebar. There's a separate feature flag for it's like left sidebar refactor or something.
Yeah, and I don't know about that one.
I
only know about
some new gradient.
SuperNav. I only know about SuperNav.
Glad we're using the code name.
Super gradient. What's the gradient look like in dark mode? Is it done?
Yeah, it's the same. It's just like a fixed couple of colors.
Gotcha. Cool. Charlie.
Hi.
Hello.
Hello. Yeah. Epic boards, eh? I just wanted to put just point to the discussion we've been having about epic boards. It's just our catch up, a feature catch up. How we're going, how's our how is everything kind of progressing along? And so I think it's like 2 issues, I think, where we'd really like to get them into 14.0. One is quite important, which is the reordering of epics within a list and between lists. So that's in review with me, the back end, and then the front end I think is quite simple. I hope that's right. But anyway, the front end I think is okay because you just add some fields and then it's ready. So yeah, that should, cross fingers, should be merged this week. I'm pretty confident about that. But then yeah, so it's just sort of finding bugs and making sure that we ship something fairly solid for 14.0. It's very exciting.
Hey, that is exciting. Cool. Anyone else have any other work-related stuff?